I guess we should talk a little bit about ourselves.
A little bit.
We've revealed that a little bit, but how did you get into thrifting initially and then also ultimately resale?
So one of the things my mom used to do for fun all the time was go out to garage sales and and in fact, when I was a kid, I was like 5 years old or under the age of 5. My parents went to an auction and my mom bought all this vintage stuff, like tapestries and an old lamp that had the old style cord. You couldn't even use it, and a Victrola and a whole bunch of stuff. It was so much stuff, and to the point where they were not going to be able to put it all into their vehicle, and they bought the van at the auction.
Wow.
and they loaded it all up
serious,
and
man.
drove it all home. And she was doing it because she liked that stuff. It was this type of stuff she collected. But honestly, from that point on, I love garage sales. We would go out garage sailing almost every summer. It was something fun to do. But the reselling aspect, I got into that probably about 15, 16. I wasn't supposed to have an eBay account. But at the time, there wasn't hard regulations into making sure nobody wasn't able to. And it's just fun. It's fun to resell stuff.
It is. So when I was a kid, my mom went to the occasional garage sale or the occasional estate sale when I was a teenager and stuff. We didn't do tons of thrifting, and I wouldn't say that like a lot of things in my parents' house were secondhand. It wasn't like a priority or a major value. She did it occasionally. My mom definitely did use like antique vintage stuff for decor, especially antique stuff and like rustics. A lot of people talk about rustics or primitives. My parents have like a big rock wall in their house and a wood stove, and so my mom would put up like old saws and stuff like that. So she did it for that kind of thing, decor. I would say, now that thinking about it, like quite a bit. The antique-y stuff. She had like old plow and stuff out in front of the house, but not as far as day-to-day things as much.
It was her aesthetic. Not necessarily because she wanted to use it, but
mostly, she was a reupholsterer. She like learned how to do upholstery formally, and she used to do that for a while.
That's pretty cool.
And so she did sometimes pick up chairs off the side of the road that had good bones. You need to learn about good bones if you're going to be thrifting. You should learn about good bones. Yeah. But
give them second life.
Even still, most of her like furniture they bought when they were younger. They keep things forever, but the furniture's older than me.
I think most parents keep things forever. It's not a unique thing.
But so I guess it was in my realm, but it wasn't a primary part of it. And then as I got older, I did kind of enter thrifting more, probably through, maybe through a little bit more knowledge of, like we talked about, sustainability and like not wasting. Also quality. Yeah. I've learned as I've gotten older to look for quality items. And in my opinion, I don't think it's an opinion, I think it's objective. Finding quality items secondhand, sometimes it's brands, sometimes it's not. But a lot of times brands are indicative of quality. Yeah. Finding them secondhand is far more affordable than buying them firsthand. And when my husband and I got married, we didn't have a lavish wedding by any means, but it was a decent investment to have our wedding. And we had a lot of debt between us, consumer and mostly student loan and that kind of in cars. But so we started off our marriage trying to pay down our debt, which took us a while. And so because of that, we couldn't just go out and buy like a house full of stuff, We also bought our house around the same time we got married. Did everything once. I don't necessarily regret it, but we did it every once. It worked out. But so we were watching our funds, especially early in our marriage. And so, I started thrifting more, and I was already into it before I got married, but it really picked up for housewares and things. And then, like if you've been to my downstairs. Yeah. My couch is secondhand. It was pristine at an estate sale. It's a brand that I looked up the brand, and their couches go for several $1,000s. It's really well made. That's why it goes for so much. But that's not something that, especially at that time, we could have purchased. Right. But it looked pristine, and it was $350 or
even if it was on clearance, like Black Friday sales.
It would have been a huge investment. And so We got it. I can't remember if we got it before we got it or after, but it was a few $100s, and it looked like it was probably older people. I got it because it was a estate sale, and it looked like they hadn't even hardly sat on it.
Yeah.
Like, we made it look worse since we've owned it last year or two than they ever did. And so I just started more and more of my home stuff, clothes. A lot of my clothes are secondhand, and got into it that way. And then recently I kind of decided that this was a hobby I was doing anyway. I was going to the auctions, online auctions. I was going thrifting. I was going to consignment shops and estate sales anyway. And I kind of just wanted to make it pay for itself.
Yeah.
And I have a cousin who's been in the secondhand and resale world for years and years. She's considerably older than I am. And so I had kind of an in. Like, she introduced me to the auction place and certain things. So, yep. Watching YouTubers.
Yeah. And
thrifting and things. And I don't know. It's kind of a lifestyle. It's not that I don't ever buy anything new, because we do, but a lot of things.
But when you can find it for a quarter of the price.
Yep.
And it's either...
Or less.
Or less. And it's either the same quality, nicer. Why would you turn it up?
Yep. And I think, too, aesthetics matter to me. And so, in my opinion, and this isn't, like, new, other people say this, too, I think your home can be far more interesting when you're collecting things secondhand, when you're finding them, you're searching, you're, like, seeing what's out there. As opposed to going to a store and buying the floor model and buying everything from the same place. I think it makes your home far more interesting. You might have something that, no one you know has, because it's either
handcrafted or it was that minute thing that somebody picked up when they were on vacation to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, you would never have gone there, right? So, yeah, I think it's just fun and interesting. And in 2021, I quit my full-time job because it was horrible, and I would like to do something, and it's become clear to me that having a business of my own is probably my best path in life.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, but I think for the people that it is for, it's definitely for them, and I think I'm that person. So
awesome. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you want to tune in, we're going to try to post at least once a week. But we'll get back to you on what day that will be. But until next time, this has been Secondhand Sellers.
Thanks.